So in today's video, I want to talk about why I don't think you need a more control-oriented racket. And to illustrate that point, I'm going to talk about how I made the switch from my 1820 Slinko whiteout, which is a thin beam, dense string pattern control-oriented frame, to this extremely open, ultra powerful, ultra spin friendly Pure Aero Rafa 290. So I was never really looking to switch away from my 1820 whiteout. It wasn't something I was actively looking for. I wasn't like, oh, this racket doesn't have the control I need, or the spin I need, or the power I need. And especially since most rackets that do come through my door hit the shelves, they eventually make their way out. Either not enough control, not enough spin, not enough good enough of a swing feel, like they don't feel maneuverable, or they just don't mesh with how I like to hit the ball. A lot of the time it's because the feel is muted, disconnected, not connected. Like I don't enjoy using the frames is generally the main reason. But when I started testing this Pure Aero Rafa 290, I instantly really enjoyed it. And I honestly didn't think, yeah, I'm gonna switch to this racket. It was just like, I would hit the court and I just kept on picking up this Rafa 290. It let me hit shots that I just can't hit with this whiteout. It helped me stay in points longer against players who are better than me. I think it helped me overwhelm players like Simon, who generally I beat, more easily, because every ball, like my rally ball, my serve, my return, is coming a little bit deeper with a lot more spin, a little bit heavier. It's easier to find that depth and power into the court when you're on the stretch, which helps me stay in the points longer against someone like Ali, who generally kicks my ass really badly. It was surprisingly good in doubles too. It's so easy to volley with such a powerful frame. And it led me to situations where I really wasn't thinking about the racket. If there was a shot that I wanted to hit, I knew I could hit it with the Pure Aero Rafa. Whereas I did run into situations where I knew there are shots that I just can't hit with this whiteout. One of them being a very, like a down the line, very loopy defensive ball on my forehand side to bail myself out of a cross-court rally against, generally this is against someone who hits flatter, really penetrates the court, really robs time on my forehand. And so going to something that's powerful and so spin friendly that helps me lift that ball so much, I can buy a little bit of extra time, hit that ball really high over the net, and really trust the spin to come back down. So that leads me, I think, to why I don't think you necessarily need more control. The experience that I have working with players who are around my level in this kind of recreational tennis space, we're not necessarily looking for pure wins because it's not like our livelihood depends on it. It's more about looking at how you as a rec player can feel satisfied at the end of your session. It's like, have you executed the tennis that you want to play at the end of whatever, 90 minutes or 2 hours against your hitting partner, or have you not? A lot of the time, I don't think it's about winning and losing. It's more about, did you feel like you played well? And I think the reason a lot of people walk off court and feel so unsatisfied is because they didn't close down those points where they were on top, they were in control of the rally, and it feels like there should have been a put-away ball that was ultimately missed. And I also think at the rec level, there's not that many reasons that we miss. The first is you're out of position, obviously, and the second is purely mental, where you have a hard time fully committing to your shot, or you get too excited so you rip it too hard. I am certainly guilty of both of those things. When I was younger, like a junior player, I always got way too excited and would just try to spam a winner right away. And as I got older, I got used to missing those ones, so I became so scared that I wouldn't fully commit to those, say it's an easy sitter forehand up the line that you just have to finish. And in the last, say, 5 years of my tennis playing career, so starting kind of when I was a later college player, I really wanted to work on finding the confidence to punish those balls up the line, which is why I did end up going to a control racket, which was the VCore 95, right? So this is a racket that you kind of have to hit the ball in the center of the string bed. It's pretty control-oriented, thin beam, low flex, 16 by 20 string pattern, so reasonably dense string pattern, and it's a 95 square inch frame. And this racket helped me find those put-away shots, especially up the line, but also cross court or inside out. And it's not because the racket was inherently more control-oriented and having more control helps you miss less. It was because it really severely punished me for not setting up my body, which is one of the other reasons that we're going to miss pretty much any shot, is because we're not in position. If you're out of position and you can't get that proper weight transfer on those put-away balls, it's really hard to hit anything effective. It's hard to even hit it in the court. So that's what this racket taught me, and that is something that I felt like I always needed when I ultimately switched to the Extreme Tour, and then again the 1820 whiteout. I thought I need something that to some degree punishes me for doing the wrong thing. So while I do think going to those control rackets as a training tool can be quite effective for a lot of players, that's not actually what I see practiced by many players. More it is, the control racket becomes almost a crux for bad play. So you miss a ball, you always can say, it's because I use a 95, or I use an 1820, or I use a 59 RA frame. It's because I use a heavy racket because it's a VCore Percept HD or whatever, right? We look at these rackets and we know they're hard to use, and we use that as an excuse for missing. Whereas when we go to a powerful racket, those misses hurt so much because we know that this 100 square inch racket is like, oh, it's for 3.5s, it's for 3.0s, it's for junior players, it's for people who really need help. I'm better than that. I don't need help. I provide all the power myself. And so when we miss with these, it hurts a little bit more. It hurts our egos because we know we're using a racket that should be easy to use, even though tennis is in itself such a hard game. That's definitely kind of part of the boat that I was in too. I felt like, oh, I'm a good player now. I played such a decent level junior tennis. I played a decent level in college tennis. I'm good enough to use a 95. And then times change. Yeah, I'm good enough to use a 98. But I don't think it shouldn't be about that. Putting your ego aside and going, I don't mind missing with this easy to use racket, because this easy to use racket makes my ball heavier with more spin, easier depth. I can hit it harder. When I hit it off center, I still get rewarded for a decent ball because I still shifted my weight into the court, because I can trust this racket to be stable. Whereas something like a VCore 95, you catch it off center, you cannot trust it to be stable, so maybe you just do something kind of hacky and push it over. And I think another reason that I'm able to kind of make this change mentally, which allows me to make this change practically, is because I'm looking at myself play tennis whenever I edit these videos. You know, I can get my feet all tangled up on court, spray a ball long and say that was because the gravity MP was way too launchy because the flex is inconsistent, and then I have to watch myself clonk over my feet. Whereas if you don't have to see yourself make these mistakes, you can pretend in your memory that you were set up perfectly in time, and you should have just lasered that ball into the corner. So my official recommendation, because there are so many rackets on the market, is I really think there's a 100 square inch racket out there for everyone. I think if you try them all, you'll be able to find a thicker beam, slightly stiffer, 100 square inch frame that you can trust on every shot, that gives you the feel that you need, that lets you step in to every ball, that gives you that swing feel through the stroke where you feel like you can execute every single shot that you want to execute. It'll give you way more shot selection than using something more controlled. It'll make tennis feel a little bit easier, one of the hardest games I think you can play. And for me, that racket is a Pure Aero Rafa 290. So my recommendation is find a 100 square inch racket you can trust. Hit to safer targets. Don't rely on that 1820 pattern to paint the line, because painting the line is never going to be the highest percentage way to win a point. Hitting the ball a couple feet from any line, slightly harder, with a little more spin and activating your legs, that is the percentage play. And I think that's something we all know intuitively, but it's really hard to practice because there is something so satisfying about hitting that line. But if you can hit the line with a 95, 1820, I'm pretty sure you can hit the line with a big fat 100 square inch racket. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Hopefully this one made some degree of sense. And also it's sponsored by the TennCom store. Check us out.